Hola, mi clase. We are moving on to 9.1. We're still doing quadratics. And so today we're going to be solving quadratic equations using graphing. So before we've just been writing them in vertex form and standard form and then graphing them, but we actually have solutions to like we would for equations. And so that's what we're going to kind of start working on. So quadratic equations, again, are equations that have a second degree. So that's when our highest degree is 2. And then we have these zeros of functions. So the zeros of functions are the solution to our quadratic equation when it is set equal to 0. So what it means by set equal to 0, sorry, my pen wasn't working, is when we do 0 equals x squared. So we set our equation to 0 and then we solve. And so that's what we kind of mean when we say set it equal to 0. These will be our x-intercepts of the function. So x-intercepts, remember, would be where y is 0 because it's where it crosses the x-axis. So we're not rising at all, right? We're not going up or down. We're staying perfectly on that horizontal axis. So x-intercepts, notice this is intercepts. And so you're going to see sometimes we're going to have 1, sometimes we're going to have 2. And then maybe sometimes we're going to have none. But we will have no more than 2. Okay, so it'll be none, 1, or 2. So we're going to find the solution of this quadratic equation. We have x squared minus 6 equals 0. So the first thing we want to do is find that axis of symmetry, right? Where does it fold in half? So if you notice, my b is actually 0, so we're going to go x equals negative 0 over 2 times negative, or it's just 1. I don't know why I said negative 1. Or, yeah, why I say negative. There we go. So we get 0 over 2, which just gets us 0. So that tells us it's not been moved left or right. And so then remember to find my y of my vertex. We plug in this 0, so we go 0 squared minus 16 equals our y. And so we get 0 minus 16, and so it's negative 16 is our y. So our vertex is at 0, negative 16. Now, you'll notice the graph really doesn't have negative 16. It's like way down here. So we're just going to kind of put a fakey point like way down here, okay? So to graph this, we are going to find other points. Remember, this is also where our axis of symmetry is. So if I find a point on the left-hand side, it is the exact same distance on the right-hand side, right? So let's just try, we'll plug in 1. So 1 squared minus 16 would get me 1 minus 16, which is negative 15. So again, way down here, barely moved, right? Well, if it's 1 this way, it's going to be the same distance away over here. So it's going to be right there. So 2 squared minus 16 would get me 4 minus 16, which is negative 12. So again, we are still way down here. And again, it's going to match. All right, 3 squared minus 16 equals 9 minus 16, which would be 7. Is that 7? I can't even think right now. Negative 7. I mean negative 7, obviously. Negative 7. I'm just going to check it. I'm trying to do that in my head. Yay. All right. So we're a little closer. So we know that that's there. And it's going to be on the other side there. And then we're going to do 4 squared minus 16 equals 16 minus 16. And that actually gets us 0. So that means it's going to be way up here. And we're actually going to stop there because that's what we're looking for, is where is y 0? Where does it cross the x-axis? So these would be considered our solutions. It'd be at 4, 0, and negative 4, 0. So we would say we have 2 solutions. okay? And that is because this parabola crosses the x-axis in two places, okay? If you think about that too, it makes sense. If I have 16, right, that's kind of what I'm looking for, it makes sense there'd be two, right? Square root, we're talking about square roots here, and sometimes they have two answers, right? The square root of 9 is actually 3 and -3 because 3 squared is 9 and -3 squared is 9. So that's why this one has 2, but it also is because it crosses the y-axis, or the x-axis, sorry, x-axis in two places. That kind of looks like a smiley face. Anyway, side note. All right, let's go to the next one. So again, I'm going to find that axis of symmetry in my vertex. So I'm going to go x equals. Now, my b is actually -14, and this is where some of you had an issue on our quiz, is when it says -b, it means the opposite of whatever b is, since it's like a double negative. So it's like -14 over 2 times 1, okay? So we have negative, and then 14 over 2 would be 7, so it's like -7, right, like this, and then we would get 7. So this is that double negative that some of you guys had an issue with your quiz that we just took. So there's my x of my axis of symmetry. So that's out here, right here. There's my axis of symmetry. And we're going to find our vertex. So I'm going to plug in 7. I'm going to go 7 squared minus 14 times 7 plus 49. So we get 49 minus whatever 14 times 7 is. It's 98 plus 49. And if I do 49 minus 98 plus 49, guess what I get? 0. So my vertex is at 7, 0. That's actually right here. And we can look at the a, it's just 1. So I technically can go 1, 1. My a wasn't changed, so I'm going to go 1, 1, right, off my parent function, and I'm actually going to be done. Good enough, especially since I'm actually just looking for this solution. This is our solution because that is my x-axis, or x-intercept. I only have one solution this time, because it only is going to cross that axis, the x-axis one time, okay? So there's an example of one solution when it comes to a quadratic. Only one x-intercept. All right. So find the solution. We're going to do it again. So I'm going to go x equals -3 over 2 times 1. That gets me -3 over 2, which is -1.5. That's another way we can put that, right? So -1.5 goes right here. Drawn in my axis of symmetry. So I'm going to plug in -1.5. So -1.5 squared plus 3 times -1.5 plus 7. So 1.5 negative squared gets me 2 25/100ths, plus 3 times 1.5 negative is -4.5, and then plus 7. So I go plus 7 plus 2.25, and we get 4 75/100ths. So -1.5, 4 75/100ths is about here. My a is only 1, so if I go 1, 1, and, oh, that's not even 1. Here we go. Let me fix that. I didn't go up enough. Okay, 1, 1, and then 1, 1. There's my graph. If you notice, because it's a positive, it's not going to cross my x-axis. There are no x-intercepts, so we would say no solution. So there's no solutions for this quadratic because it doesn't actually cross our x-axis, okay? So this is what a no solution would look like. There are no, or in a sense, no zero solutions because the graph does not cross the x-axis. Okay? So those are your three versions. Crosses twice, crosses once, does not cross at all. All right, so I want you to try this one. I'm actually going to leave this blank. I want you to try it. Let's see how it goes. Just do what I did with plugging in some numbers. If it comes out to a 2 solution, you'll kind of have to do this. 1 solution will be nice because you just have to find the axis of symmetry, and actually, in a sense, no solution's nice too because it also will only need the axis of symmetry. So I'm actually going to leave this one. I want you guys to try this, and then we'll go over it. All right, so the other way to do this is by making a table. And so we've made tables before. It's not the fastest process. It's not the funnest process, but it is one of the ways to do this. So we're going to use our X and our Y. I did not make a very straight table. I really like to use 0. And then you'll notice I kind of left some space above and below, just depending on where I need to find my y is 0. So remember, we are looking for when y is 0, not when x is 0. This would be our x-intercept. We do know, our y-intercept. We do know that this is our y-intercept, right? So I either could plug it in. I could go 0 squared plus 5 times 0 plus 4. But 0 squared is 0. 5 times 0 is 0. Plus 4 is obviously 4. So let's try -1 first. We'll go backwards. Why not? So I'm going to go -1 squared plus 5 times -1 plus 4. Okay, so -1 squared is 1. 5 times -1 is -5, and then plus 4. So -5 plus 4 plus 1. I feel like I did that wrong. 1 plus 5 times 1 negative plus 4. Yeah, we're good. That actually did get me my 0. Now, we need to see which way our 0 is going to go. Is it going to, do I need to continue going the negatives to get to my 0? Or do I need to go into the positives to get to my 0? We need to see which way it's increasing and decreasing, right? Because if, I do know it's up, right? It's an up, this is this kind of parabola. So if I'm at 0, 4, if we think about it like on a graph, right? If I'm at 0, 4, 0, 4, and then I'm at -1, 0, and I have this kind of graph, I probably need to keep going this way to find that other 0, right? Because I have this kind of graph and I just went down. Okay, so let's check. Let's check -2. I'm going to erase these dots because these don't have anything to do with there. So I'm going to try -2 and see what happens. So I'm going to go -2 squared plus 5 times -2 plus 4. So just to keep track of things this time, since I had an issue with the last time, I'm going to go 4 plus -10 plus 4. So I know this is 8, so that's -2. So I did go down a little bit more. So I'm going to keep going with this order. I'm going to go -3. So -3 squared plus 5 times -3 plus 4 equals 9 plus -15 plus 4. So 9 plus 15 negative plus 4 gets me -2 again. So now you can see that obviously my vertex is somewhere in here, because if these are equal, they're equal space away. So I'm coming back up the same direction. So let's try -4. -4 times squared plus 5 times -4 plus 4 equals 16 plus -20 plus 4. Well, 16 plus -20 plus 4 is 0. So we just found our zeros. Here is this solution. This is our zeros, one of our zeros, and here is our other 0. So we would say our solutions are 1, 0, and -1, 0, and -4, 0. Okay? So the reason I kept going this way is because my numbers got smaller. I knew that my parabola was here, so I made a visual, right, using this graph. If I'm here, and then here, If I'm going to keep going, I know that my graph's going to be somewhere over here. Now, if my next point had been higher, my -1 had been here, then I would have known I needed to keep going here, okay? So it just depends on what shape I make. Also, I can see right here that my -3 and my -2 came out the same numbers. So when I have these two, I know that then it's going to keep going in this order. So that's another reason I knew. So that means that tells me right here, if I did the next one here, -5, it should be 4 as well, because they should be the same distance. So my axis of symmetry is somewhere in between here, okay? All right. Let's make a table. Maybe I can make a better table this time. So x, ooh, that was prettier. Y, again, like I said, I like to start with 0. I'm going to kind of leave space just depending on which way I need to go. So 0 squared plus 0 minus 6, we know is -6. So my y-intercept, when I go back to my graph, my y-intercept is at 0, -6, okay, and we know it's some kind of this graph, right? Up graph, because my a is 1, so we know it's this kind of graph. All right, so let's try -1. -1 squared plus -1 minus 6 equals 0. So, not equals 0, we need to figure out what it equals. So we get 1 minus 1 minus 6. All right, did I do that right? 1 minus 1 minus 6 equals, well, those cancel. We get -6 again. So we know these are the same space from each other. So -1, that means my axis of symmetry is somewhere in here. So let's try -2. -2 squared plus -2 minus 6 equals 4 minus 2 minus 6. So 4 minus 2 minus 6 gets me -4. I'm getting smaller. So that's a good sign. Let's do, I'm getting closer to my zeros now, see? So -3. -3 squared. So you can see this is kind of a process. -3 minus 6 equals 9 minus 3 minus 6 equals, well, 9 minus 3 minus 6 is 0. All right, so I found one of my zeros. Well, we do know that the axis of symmetry is in here, right? See how they're the same? So that means I actually need to go this way to get to my other 0. It was 2 away from my 6 here, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do 2 away from here. So 1, 2. All right, I'm going to try 2 because that would be 2 away, right? So same distance away, so let's try 2. 2 squared plus 2 minus 6 equals 4 plus 2 minus 6 equals 0. I got my other 0. I did not even have to try 1. Okay, I should just automatically know that 1 will be -4 because we know that they are the same pattern, right? So there's my solutions. My zeros are -3, 0, and 2, 0. X-intercepts, that's what we're looking for. Those are our 0 solutions. All right, let's keep going. Oh, yay, that's all we got to do. So things to remember, we're looking for our x-intercepts, right? Try to find our x-intercepts. Find the x-intercepts. And that's where it's going to be x, comma, 0 for our y's, x-intercepts. Crosses the x-axis, where it crosses the x-axis. I'll put that. There we go. All right, so here's your independent practice. You need to just graph like we did here. So I basically left you 2 to graph. Okay, so you're practicing 2 graphings and no tables. All right, adios until next time.